Welcome back! Look at us here! We have Germany! And we're trying to invade the Netherlands. And then after we do that, we're gonna become commies. And you know what we're gonna do after we become commies? We're gonna conquer even more land. And we're just gonna take over the world, eventually as communism. I mean, we can't take over the entire world because our communist brothers. For the most part, I don't think it's appropriate for us to do anything to take over their land. Unless they become enemies of the people or something. But even then, it's probably going to be easy to take them over, if they become enemies of the people. And we need some motorized, but we'll have that before. Yeah, we're doing pretty much fine. Let's figure out what the hell we're going to research next. Probably MPs, so that way, when we do conquer land, pretty much we'll just have a special division consisting mostly of armored cars and MPs. For the most part, I just don't want our garrison forces being a drain on our resources, if you know what I mean. How many of these armored car things do we have anyway? 48 of them. I just want to cut that down a little bit. But, we have a lot of crap we have to do. We have to make these infantry units 20s. And just... we have a lot of work before we could think about what to do with our garrison troops, if you know what I mean. World tension's at 5. My goal is to hopefully be able to fabricate a claim beforehand, so that way we could take over more land. As if we're going to do anything as Germans, it is to take over land and incorporate it into ourselves. We need land. What's a scout plane? That's a good idea. Do we want a scout plane? The Henschel. And I see why not. It's... Germans are great at one thing. It's their infantry and the Air Force, the Luftwaffe. And then just unfortunately for donuts, I really do think that, at least for this playthrough, I don't want to neglect the German Navy. It might be taking a third place, which is going to be a shame. But it's going to have something in it. We're going to try to do some stuff at least to maximize its strength. Right now we got 19 subs, 14 destroyers. I mean, there's people in it. There's subs. They have cutesy little military traditions. And it's going to be alright. And for pretty much anyone besides Britain, the goal is just to be able to beat the ass of anyone besides Britain. And ideally, if we're going communist, the goal is just we're going to be friends with the Soviet Union, which will mean that we'll at least have some sort of help. Look at these smelly people. Georgia 6. And the goal is to wait till October, conquer the Netherlands, get stuff, move to Poland, get stuff. What the hell does get rid of Europe mean? Let's see. Cave to the Germans, gateway to Europe. What does this mean? Trade influence. They want to, like, I don't know. Historically, the Dutch were really good at trade. So maybe that's what they want. They want to, like, work on their trades. You know, their trade stuff, because, you know, historically, that's what the Dutch liked. Which is fine. I mean, if they want to work on all that crud, you know, they can. So they could give us trade, or they could give the British trade if they wanted to. Otherwise, fine by me, because we're going to be conquering them in a couple months. So if they want to work on trade, that's fine, because that means that, drumroll please, there'll be a little less for them to fret about when we say rampage over their borders with a large number of infantry, and I mean, it's not going to be a great armored arm, but at least it'll be something, you know, 6 divisions. It's enough to make a little punch here or there. I'm probably just be sending me and Steam's force over in this area to just sort of like work on the sideline, like as the mechanized forces, or at least armored or motorized forces, depending how you define them, because they're not mechanized, at least not yet, theoretically. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to have some landlubbers behind you, at least to supervise the flanks, to make sure that you just don't get surrounded. It makes sense for you to be a little bit more south. Go over there. Good job, Monstein. Keep up the good work. And it seems like there's a lake here. The only problem is I don't know that much about Netherlands geography and how everything works in the game, but it just makes sense to smash a little thing here to cut off the supply lines while, well, actually, it's not going to be that useful because supplies could go around this way, but if something like this, at least this way the two sides can't really communicate that well with each other, and then sneak over here, sneak over here. And if there's just like one side that's, you know, makes sense to divide and conquer. And overall, the southern part, obviously, you need to go down this way, so that way you can have a little bit more of a flank, or does expand overall just lines of the bigger the front you want, the better if you outnumber the enemy. So that way, drum roll please, they have a little bit less length, you know, they have to be stretched out farther. And if you need like an example, probably the best bet will just be the Battle of Petersburg during the American Civil War. Grant just expanded all his lines until the Confederates just slowly lost an ugly battle of attrition. Which is a good thing, because I hate the Confederacy, and I'm glad that they lost the war. Pretty much if you're on the side of slavery, you're kind of like on the wrong side. I mean, it's sad, you have a right to be proud of your history and stuff like that, but I mean, it's kind of reminds me of, you know, are we the baddies? And yes, if you're the Confederates in the Civil War, you unfortunately were the baddies. Nothing to be ashamed of. You just have to admit it. And the first step of admitting it is just admit that you're the baddies. And okay, and for me to stop blabbering for a second so I could focus on something, I'll just give it to this guy. Good. The lows are going down a little bit. And as you see, we still have some people wandering around doing their training. High Sea Fleet. They're hopefully should be going back now, right? Now that you're trained. And you guys are pretty much just finishing up, which is fine. Alright, take your time if you want to play a little cutesy war games. Then you could go back and, talk about how good and proud you are to serve in the Navy. As you see there, they're not going to go into the Dutch English sphere of influence because we're going to be killing them in a couple months. And that's all I really care about. You can trade with the Dutch, with the English, all you want. Except, of course, that you're not going to be doing so for much longer, as you're going to be dead soon. Or at least part of Gross Deutschland. And that's what ultimately... We have another unit ready. These obviously can go to Monstein. And if he just wants to hang out in the north, even if he's superfluous, it just makes sense to have, some sort of fist instead of. And the Spanish War has started. I'm just going to stay out of it. Let other people do some bleeding. I'll be getting plenty of experience. Well, I won't be getting a lot of experience, but I'll be getting some taking over the Netherlands. And once again, we actually have quite a lot of naval experience, which is... Yeah. Navy... As you see, the High Seas Fleet has returned to port like I wanted them to. And which is good. So now the only people who are trading it is these people, just because they started a little bit later. And then they'll be back and we'll begin hoarding some oil for when the war starts. And it gives the people a chance in the Navy to shave their beards. People, the airline the Luftwaffe that could drink wine and talk about how good it is to be in the Luftwaffe or whatever they do. Yes, I know I could get a captain of industry. I'm not. I don't know what I'm going to save up for, but we could get civilian factory. If anything, it makes sense to get Walter Funk. That's if we're going to go down either of those routes. Because it makes sense, obviously, to get some sort of... We need to jump on some more stuff before we go communist, unfortunately. Well, just one or two more theorists. I mean, we'll be communists before we know it. If we don't think we're communists right now, we'll be communists, I promised. I'm going to take over Poland too, obviously, if we can. Because we need to if we're going to be communists. And produce another infantry unit. I'm actually kind of happy with a shit ton of... Yeah. Well, I mean, you need infantry. Probably 3 armies of infantry, even before basically before you could even think about anything else. Goering works and dispersed industry. Holy moly! Decisions. We got that. KDF Vaughan. The more civilian factories he could get, the better. As the more civilian factories you get, the more crap he could build. This will actually be good because, we have Suriname and Curacao coming our way, so we can utilize them. And pretty much, the more I play this game, the more I realize that it actually is a little bit more complicated than people admit. A lot of people make it sound like it's a video game when it's clearly not. Actually, anti-tank. Yeah. There's one thing I'm scared of, it's tanks. So we need weapons to take care of the tanks. Even if real life, the early German models were pretty much useless against the Russians. But we don't have to worry about that because we're going communist. And the Russians will be our best friends. Except when they're not. But for the most part, East Germany actually had pretty good relations with the Soviets. I mean, if the KGB, asks you for advice when it comes to, oppressing your citizens, it means you're doing a good job. That's for the most part. And these Germans theoretically could go to the Soviet Union visa-free. Well, that's, of course, if you could. I mean, theoretically, North Koreans could leave their country whenever they want. At least that's, if you read their constitution. In reality, of course, it's a different story. And that's, of course, how communism works in the first place. Some people say no. Some people say they just didn't have a chance to. If we tried better, if Stalin didn't exist, or Lenin lived longer, or this or that, we could have pulled it off. Pretty much whoever you talk to, they're going to have a different opinion about the validity of communism and if it works or not. I am just going to stop the recording for a second. Once again, feel free to subscribe, leave a comment, visit my website, evilsexoffender.com, and I'll be back in a second.